Toyota is already considered to be one of the world's most environmentally friendly car makers, but despite that fact, we're not prepared to stand still. Many of our technologies already reduce vehicle emissions, and probably the best known of those is the hybrid Synergy drive. But we also produce cars with some of the lowest coefficients of drag in the marketplace. And we have features like electric power steering, which reduces the drain on engine power. One of the most recent innovations is our gear shift indicator, and that's a technology that actually encourages efficient driving behaviour. We recognise that's very important because the way that we drive our cars has a massive impact on both vehicle emissions and fuel consumption. And now we've introduced the Eco Drive test. Now that's a method of demonstrating eco driving to our consumers during a test drive. Every year around 5 million consumers test drive a Toyota in Europe alone, and it's our hope that they'll adopt the Eco Drive test behaviour in their everyday driving, reducing vehicle emissions and cutting fuel consumption. Well, clearly the driving part of a car's life is the largest contributor to its whole life CO2 emissions. The Eco Drive test approach is also unique to Toyota, and it's something that will be delivered to our consumers by every retailer. Well, clearly Toyota respect all their consumers, and we understand that they've all got different reasons for choosing a particular car. But we also believe that the Eco Drive test message is appropriate to share with all of them. Put simply, every consumer that visits a retailer should be told about Eco Drive test. This can be done using the Eco Drive test card or by demonstrating the interactive simulator in the showroom. But we think the most effective way is in the form of conducting an Eco Drive test in the car itself. Salespeople understand that the test drive is a great opportunity to raise the customer's desire to own a Toyota, and now it's also a great opportunity to demonstrate Toyota's environmental commitment. Of course, there's plenty of facts that we can share with the customers along the way. For example, explaining how carrying luggage on the roof increases a car's wind resistance. So we recommend that if you do have to carry items on the roof, make sure the luggage carrying system is as aerodynamic as possible, and when you finish using it, make sure you remove it. A car's wind resistance can also increase if the windows are left open, so whenever possible we should keep them closed. This alone can save around 5% on the fuel consumption bill. Something that lots of owners overlook is their tyres. Underinflated tyres create loads of resistance. If you've ridden a bike with a flat tyre, you'll know that. Plus, incorrectly inflated tyres also wear out more quickly and they need replacing more frequently, which is not good news for the environment, and it's also expensive for our consumers. Air conditioning and climate control is also becoming standard fit on more and more of our cars, and we know that it's really popular with our owners. But we've got to remember, just like the heating in our own houses, it doesn't actually need to be on 24/7. So using the air vents alone can often create enough ventilation in the car, and that in turn will reduce our CO2 emissions. And finally, we also need to think about the way that we actually drive, our driving style. Changing up a gear a little bit earlier doesn't have a big impact on our acceleration, but it can dramatically improve fuel consumption and cut CO2 emissions. I mean, modern diesels like the Toyota D4D in particular produce loads and loads of low-down torque, so you can cut your revs and your fuel consumption. Change gear a little bit earlier and you can save up to 8% at the fuel pumps. We really believe that Eco Drive test can make a substantial contribution towards reducing vehicle emissions. In fact, if every driver in Europe adopted Eco Drive, then we've calculated that the actual collective CO2 emissions would be reduced by something like 50 million tonnes by 2010. And that their fuel costs would go down by about 20 billion euros. well, eco-driving is not just something we're going to reserve for our consumers. It's actually at the heart of the way that we should all drive. Adopt eco-driving, experience the difference firsthand, and I've got to say it's much easier then to translate those benefits to your consumers when you're actually conducting an eco-drive test.